So we're going to learn about the distributive property. We've already gone through some stuff in class, so this is for those of you who need a little extra help. No worries in that, because this is one of the most important things that we end up dealing with. So we're going to start off with something pretty basic. 3 parentheses 4 plus 2. Now, if I just go through and solve this, I should be able to pretty easily come up with a solution. So order of operations says that I do 4 plus 2 first, so I'm going to have 3 parentheses 6. And that means multiply. When I have two things right next to each other, it means multiply. So this is 3 times 6, which is, of course, 18. So I know if I use the distributive property on this, I better come up with 18. And the way I can do this with the distributive property is I'm going to distribute, which means like to hand out. I'm going to hand out this times 3 to everything that's inside the parentheses. This times 3 goes with this 4 and with this plus 2. So it's going to look like this. Here's going to be my first step. 3 times 4, bring down your sign here, plus 3 times 2. This is using the distributive property, getting from this spot here to this spot here. This is the distributive property. Getting rid of those parentheses, which we're going to find out really helps us a lot once we get into some algebra. So pretty easily, 3 times 4 is 12. Bring down your sign. 3 times 2 is 6. And we get 12 plus 6 equals 18, which is exactly what we got here. Okay, so that is essentially the distributive property. Let's go through some examples that are going to make things just a little bit tougher, though. So we're going to delete what we have here. And our next problem is going to be 3 parentheses x plus 2. Well, from our last problem, we should know these steps. This is a 3 times x plus 2. So I'm going to do this 3 times to everything inside the parentheses. So I'm going to do 3 times, I'm going to use that dot as my way to describe multiplication. 3 times x, bring down my sign. My sign is a plus, plus 3 times 2. Not too tough. We should be able to get to this point. Then it's just a matter of rewriting things, simplifying. So pretty easily this is going to be a plus 6, and then 3 times x, what that really means is x plus x plus x, which we can write as 3x. This means 3 times x. So 3 parentheses x plus 2, this thing here, simplifies into 3 parentheses x plus 6. Pretty straightforward there. All right, let's move on. Let's make it a little more complicated still. Next, we're going to 3 parentheses x minus 2. Dun, dun, dun. What are we possibly going to do here? Well, remember, I told you last week that we never have to subtract again. We can always turn subtraction into adding the opposite. The opposite of 2 is negative 2, so I can add the opposite. And then I'm just going to go through it the same way. 3 times this, bring down your sign, 3 times this. So I have 3 times x plus 3 times negative 2. And why did I put this negative 2 in parentheses? I did it just to make things simpler so that you don't think it's times minus, that you know that it's times a negative. And then simplifying, 3 times x is going to be 3x. Bring your sign down. And then 3 times negative 2. Well, it's going to be 6, and then I have to remember what makes it positive, what makes it negative. Well, if the signs are the same, it's positive. If the signs are different, it's negative. This sign is positive, this sign is negative, so my answer is negative. 3x plus negative 6. Or, if we're really good, we can know that this means 3x minus 6. Are we okay there? Good. Let's move on to an even more difficult problem. Whoa, why did that happen? Let's add a little more onto this. Let's add a little more difficulty here. Why is there an E there? All right, we'll get rid of that. Boom, done. Okay, so let's go through a little bit more here. So let's say we have 3 parentheses 5x plus 2. What does this even mean? All right, we're going to go through this the exact same way. I'm going to do 3 times 5x plus, bring down your sign, 3 times 2. So I'm just going to write it down before I even think about anything. 3 times 5x plus 3 times 2. All right, are we okay there? All right, 3 plus 5x times 3 times 2. All right, so what does 3 plus 5x mean? Well, let's go over here and let's think about what 3 times 5x means. And let's do that by doing just a little problem over here. Let's do 2 times 4x. 4x, remember, is repeated addition. X plus x plus x plus x. And if I have 2 of these plus, if I have 2 of these, 2 times this, x plus x plus x plus x. How many x's am I adding up? Well, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That equals 8 x's altogether. So what did I really do? I multiplied my coefficient times my constant. 2 times 4 is 8, and that's how many x's I have. So using that same principle over here, 3 times 5x, that's going to simplify to 15 x's. I have 5 x's here, and I have 3 groups of those 5 x's. Gives me 15 x's. Bring down your sign, and then pretty easily 3 times 2 is going to be 6. So 3 parentheses 5x plus 2 is going to simplify to 15x plus 6 when we use the distributive property. All right, so let's try one more problem. One more problem here. This is about as difficult as we're going to get on anything tonight. And that is going to be negative 3 parentheses 5x plus 2. We're going to go through these exact same steps. Negative 3 times the first term, use your sign. Negative 3 times the second term. So, negative 3 times 5x plus negative 3 times 2. Is it okay that I'm using 2 like this, or multiply like this instead of a dot? You betcha. So, I have, right here, I have groups of 5 x's, and I have negative 3 of those. So how many x's do I owe? 3 groups of 5, that's going to be negative 15x. I have a plus sign, and then I have a negative 3 times a positive 2, that's going to be negative 6. So that is my answer. Or I could have negative 15x minus 6. So hopefully that helps you out with the form. Please show up tomorrow with questions if you don't get it.